Let me start from the beginning, I suppose. Try. The problems facing the care sector. It's a huge growing sector, and one of the biggest interests, I suppose, at the moment for investors seem to be the latest thing now to jump into the care sector, whether it's age-assisted living, old age homes. The boom has shot up in this country immensely. There's actually hundreds of care companies now working in the UK. Some are registered, some are unregistered, one-man bands, families, big companies, corporations. It's a big business. There's a huge demand for care. Enormous amount of people. As we know, we've got an increase in Alzheimer's and dementia. We've got people for various reasons needing care, whether they're disabled, whether they're mentally ill, whether they're physically ill, whether they're end of life, whether they're just old. They need help around the house. Most of them don't. Some of them need respite care, temporary care. They've had a fall, they come out of hospital. Also frees up all the hospital beds. So people are able to be released to go home and receive care until they're better. You've got people that'll need permanent care. A lot of people do not want to live or move into an old age home. They, first of all, don't need to, but they're not able to live by themselves and be able to do everything that they could on their own. You have couples. Actually, that I was surprised on the statistics, how many people are caring for couples, whether one or both need care. Some maybe just have a mobility problem, the other one maybe has Alzheimer's or an illness. A lot of carers are looking after couples, and that was quite surprising. So that we've got a huge growing sort of old age population, I suppose. The baby boomers are next to start to retire soon. So yes, we've got a massive need and growth, which people are aware of. People that are going to retire, that are going to need help, need old age homes, need care. So this sector boomed. I think it went under the radar, and nobody realized how big it was. Because people are operating in someone's home, they're not in an office, it's very difficult to get statistics, to get to speak to them, to get proof, to find out really or know what's going on the ground. Because you've got people all over the country spread out in private homes working alone. Sometimes they have two carers. If it's intense care or palliative care where they need hoists, you'll have two carers or a night carer. But majority, it's a huge percentage of them, are working alone in someone's house, almost like a domestic worker. So it's a very dangerous thing and a difficult thing to monitor and to regulate, also for the safety of the clients, and also to even gauge how many people are out there doing this for illegal practices, exploitation. It's open, it's rife for exploitation. Secondly, people are paying, it's unaffordable to most people. It is so expensive. If you haven't got money, as most people know, the state then provides care. There also aren't enough care homes, and a lot of people don't want to give up their home. They don't need to go and live in a care home. They want to stay in their own home. It's where they feel comfortable, where they feel safe. They have their belongings. So most of them aren't given the option. Some of their children are well enough, and they fight for the fact that their parents can rather have live-in care than going to a care home. Some don't want to be too far away, or the care home's too expensive. But they're still also paying an exorbitant fee. So when you've got someone who is middle class, upper class, or higher middle class, is paying out of their own pocket. If they've got a savings, if they've got a home, they have to provide the money now for the care for their family member, whether it's a parent, and they literally can't afford it. You've got people selling their own homes to be able to afford their care. And as people are living longer, we're going to have a serious problem. No one can afford that. It's unaffordable to be able to pay those fees for, who knows, years. It can go on for years. You cannot afford to do it. So people are, losing everything to be able to provide care or pay for the care that they need for their family member. It's a very sad situation, actually. So I have a lot of people, and a lot of people aren't aware, as the system is set up, if somebody's looking for, I've had lots of people phone me recently for help on that aspect or advice. Because when you new and you've never been in the situation before, and you now realize you have to find a care or put your parent in care. Say your parents developed Alzheimer's or dementia. So they go online normally, and they go to Age UK or places like that, and the first thing they're told, or to the council, is an agency. They're referred to an agency to get a carer. Now, people are paying. There are one-man bands now. There's all kinds of different types of agencies operating out there. There's some called induction agencies. Really, what they really are is a recruitment agency. So all they do is source recruit carers and pass them on to you and charge you a fortune. So you've got clients signing up contracts where they'll pay a monthly fee or they'll pay a one-off fee, whether it's £100, £600 a month, purely for that agency to provide them with carers. It's a glorified recruitment agency, basically. Then you've got agencies which have domicile carers and live-in carers, provide both services. Some provide training. A lot of them now are cutting a lot of this out. A lot of them only operate as they hire or take on self-employed carers only. You've got agencies that do employed and self-employed. Employed seems to be getting less and less because people seem to realize they make more profit when they don't have to run payrolls and it's less expenses, so there's more profit for the business. So more and more people are going, a lot of agencies are taking on the self-employed role, looking for carers as basically as self-employed people and then hiring them out or to clients. But the clients are paying a lot of money. The minimum I think some of these people are charging is about $900 a week for a live-in carer. Some people are paying up to $2,000 a week. Now you add that up over a year, it's an enormous amount. Some poor person who saved all their life, has got a pension, who's now got a home and got some savings, will never be able to afford to keep that payment up. They get into debt or have to sell their homes or literally can't afford to. Someone has to give up work, stay at home and look after their family member because nobody can afford to pay for care at those rates. So it's a very sad situation, and it's a massive business, a huge business. It's growing immensely in this country. It's now the new, anyone that wants to make a bit of money is trying to jump on the bandwagon, seeing this is, they think it's a lucrative business. So it's an unfortunate situation for everybody. There's petitions going around now to the government to make, and I see in the Labour Party have brought it up, I see the Tories have brought it up, and I've seen them go around, and I've seen there's over 300,000 signatures where people are now asking the government to provide free care for everybody, because those with funds have to pay their own care. Those with no funds or savings get it provided by the government. Councils are now put under pressure then to find the money for this care. And there is a way that it can be much more affordable. I don't think the route to go is free care for all, because it has to come from taxes. That means something else is going to lose out, whether it's going to be our NHS, whether it's going to be our police force, whether it's going to be social services. Somewhere the money has to come from. So the government are picking up the tab then to pay this. The idea is to get rid of this horrendous cost, to bring the cost down, but not at the expense of exploiting the labor. And this is what is now currently going on. The care companies are charging a fortune, and the carers, 90% of them, are earning less than minimum wage. And this we've managed to slip through because our legislation, I don't think when it was set out, I think it was set out for domiciliary carers, and people weren't really aware, it was very small then, of how big and how many carers are out there, as I say, because a lot of it can be operated illegally and under the radar because they are working in people's homes, which we have discovered through the survey and through the group I set up. In order to get people to talk, to get the facts and statistics of how big and what the problem was, I need to get the carers to talk out, which I found extremely difficult. People didn't want to talk out if they weren't anonymous or do the survey, if their names, for fear of retribution, fear of losing their job. So I made the survey anonymous for the people filling it in, so safely. And to get them to talk out, I formed a closed platform, and I got busier and busier. My phone rang, I had messages, people contact me. Some people don't want to talk out openly on a platform for good reason. They have been threatened, intimidated. So they you can't get the truth. And as more and more was exposed to me, and people started contacting me privately via my messenger, via my phone, via messenger, via all kinds of ways, email, shared their stories, and asked where they can report the problems and abuse. And more things started coming out of the woodwork, and I discovered all the problems in the care sector, and there are many. So it'll take me many videos to get through this. But at the meantime, what I'm trying to, as people come forward and I try and help them to make it more affordable for those that thought they couldn't afford to get a carer for their family member or parent, and were trying to juggle their work and manage care, they can hire them directly. More and more carers are going self-employed, really self-employed, not bogus self-employed through agencies that are working as a self, offering the services directly to the client, where the client pays them directly. You are cutting out the middleman and saving probably half the money. There's a lot of carers out there that are very angry, they're very upset when they see what their clients are charged. Many times it's come up, many people have were disgusted when they realized what their clients were paying and compared to their salaries. Because basically if you think about it, what does the agency provide in this? They bring the carer to your house. The carer is providing, that's the service they're selling, purely that person's services. They're in your home and providing the work, care, light housework, whatever they do, feeding, washing. They're providing the person. Without the person, there is no service or care. And the carers are earning $500, $400. They're earning less than minimum wage. According to the hours they work, huge, I would say, to guess, the statistics, I'm sure if you can do the investigation and the government really does look into this, 90% probably, at least 80, let's say conservative, 80% are earning less than minimum wage. When they get their pay and they see that what the clients invoice, the clients are paying sometimes, I think the average is about 1,200 to 1,500 to 1,200 pounds a week. They are getting charged for this live-in carer. And the live-in carer is getting paid about 500 a week for the job. So your agency is pocketing almost double the amount. They're making massive profit. So this is why the industry now is absolutely booming, and a lot of people are operating, and not particularly on a great scale. But the client is not benefiting from this. If you look at the statistics, which I'm trying to find our way to upload the actual survey, the results of the survey, onto this page, so you're able to see it for yourselves. The actual hours the carers are working, the lack of breaks, everything that's involved, and compared to what they're earning, they're not being paid. And I've seen myself, I've been privy to a lot of these contracts. People talk. So the carers have told me what their contract says. I've seen an enormous amount of contracts, how they're worded, what they're being paid. And unfortunately, a lot of people do go to Care Quality Commission and report this. They're being told basically, well, it's a labour issue. It's nothing to do with them. It's not their problem. So they're being referred to ACAS or referred to HMRC. A lot of people won't talk out who fear that they know they will lose their job. If they do report the agency or take them to court, they're going to lose their job, and no other agency will touch them because they'll be frightened they'll do the same. So we've got a huge problem going on in the care sector. But I'll go into that and how they're being exploited and what's happening. But yes, there is a way of doing this to cut them out. The person has a carer in the house. No one's even checking on the standard of care. If you look at the actual survey, which I've done now, huge percentage of people have never seen the time they were at the client's house or at the job. Nobody came to check on the standard of care or the living conditions that they were even giving the client, or even the client was right. Second statistics were sometimes or half the time. So pretty much nobody is checking on the safety side of the client. Is the person, what standard of care they're getting, what the living conditions are? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. This is a lot of problems. So there is a way of going around it. Obviously, hire them directly. You are going to save an enormous amount of money. And I get more and more people contacting me as I make this more aware, and which I have done on these care platforms on Facebook. People have contacted me and say, wonderful, thank you. I didn't know I could get a carer directly. How do I do it? Where do I do it? They realize there's no benefit. They're paying out a huge amount of money to a care company, basically being sent a carer, and then normally never seeing them or hearing from them again until the carer goes on leave and they need another carer, or the carer leaves. They find a carer they like. The carer then gets sent to another job or another client, and they can't keep the person. When they discover now they want to hire the carer directly, they do like a carer that's sent by an agency, and they'd like to keep the carer, especially when they discover that they can save almost more than double what they're paying. They could save that money by paying the carer directly. They look at their contract. They're tied into the contract, which purposely does this, which stops them from hiring the carer directly, or they'll be fined or penalized. So for months they will not be able to hire that person or face £3,000 fine if they try and hire the carer directly. So they get entrapped. Carer gets entrapped by the agency, by the contracts as well. When the carer realizes, first of all, when she gets a paycheck, they are paid a set amount. I think there's 1%, according to the survey as well, and factually 1% of carers that are paid for all the hours they work, actually paid for the hours they're on duty. The rest of them are paid from agencies. You can go online, you'll see it for yourselves. I'm sure you know there's not an advert out there. They're paid, either offer a daily rate or they offer a weekly rate. And you'll see a lot of ads, and they're going down actually. The exploitation's getting worse. Where the carers are offered $400 a week, $500 a week for a live-in care job. The clients are not paying that, far from that. A lot of these agencies are also taking stipends off, which by law, which we need to change, it's not for this industry. As a requirement of this job, the person wants a live-in carer. They need someone living in their house, or you wouldn't be able to do the job. They would have a day carer or domiciliary carer. They want someone there 24/7 in their home. So, because we have this stipends, unfortunately, on the government website, and it's not specified for any industry or that you can't, it needs to be stopped for the live-in care. Some agencies are now taking that off the carers' wages, the stipends, charging them for accommodation, which they're not providing. The client is actually providing the accommodation because they are going to stay in the client's house and work for that client under the agency or recruited by that agency. They're being charged that. It's coming off their wages, yet the client is not being reimbursed. The client is not benefiting from that. So the client's paying a fortune. The carers are being exploited, and I mean exploited. I've seen a huge amount of contracts, read them. A lot of them are bogus, self-employed. As I say, they're not being paid for all the hours they work at all. They're not. The way that I can go into details of all the different contracts I've seen, how they're getting around the law. There's too many loopholes. How they're doing it. So we've got now a terrible situation where we're losing fantastic people. And I see, even I've looked on the media where people say they can't find carers, there's a shortage of carers. There's no shortage of carers. There's a huge pool of people out there. They would love to be live-in carers. But some agencies find a hard time finding carers because people do not want to work for them. They have a bad name among the carers. The carers are not being paid for all the hours they work. They're working ridiculous hours. They're not getting breaks. So yes, we've got a lot of problems in the industry. If you speak to Care Quality Commission or go onto the pages or site, you'll see where it says, carers know this, but it's not happening at all. It's a completely outdated and irrelevant for this industry. It needs to be changed. It says there, carers are supposed to have 11 hours uninterrupted rest and sleep between shifts. Now remember, carer has 24 hours in that person's house. Secondly, they fall under what is called the Person-Centered Care, or the Care Act, which means they're supposed to not dictate to the client. They're supposed to work around the client's, not disrupt the client's routine, their habits, their waking patterns, their eating patterns. So if the client wakes up at 6 in the morning, that's how they live, and go to bed at 10 at night, well, those are the hours the carer is on duty and has to work. The carer cannot go to bed before the client, and the carer is not allowed to say to the client, well, I'm only being paid for 8 hours by my company, or told I'm only actually working 8 hours. So at 6 o'clock at night, well, thank you, I'm off duty now, goodbye. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to if you need the toilet, I'm not going to help you. Now, I'm finished. I'm leaving. The carer has to work a person-centered care. So the carer has to work around the client, what the client wants, when the client wants, when they want to eat. And this is not happening. They're not being paid for all the hours they're actually on duty and working. So yes, we have a big problem. The clients are at risk because the carers are not getting enough sleep. A lot of them are working ridiculous hours. The mental health issues they're facing, the burnout is very high. It's pushing people out of the industry, and very good people actually are not wanting to be carers anymore because of the exploitation. They cannot manage the hours. They are not. They're not given the support. They're not given the breaks when they complain about the job or it's being too intense. The hours are too long. They are not getting their breaks. All of these things that we see up under the legislation are supposed to happen does not happen. If they miss their breaks, they're not being paid. They're not being relieved by the agencies if they cannot get their breaks. They're not being paid for the missed breaks. A lot of them are not getting anywhere near enough sleep. So you've got exhausted, overtired, overworked carers in people's houses, which is a high risk to a client. You've got irritable, tired carers who are going to make mistakes. We've got more chances of abuse. We've got carers now facing insomnia, mental health, anxiety problems because of the horrible conditions they're forced to work in. Purely the only person benefiting from this is the middleman. So we have a lot of problems, which I will disclose. And as I say, when I upload the survey, even I might have to take screenshots, you'll be able to see by the questions and by the answers exactly what is going on. Yes, we can make it more affordable, but we have a serious problem with the middleman. The only person benefiting from this current situation at the moment are the agencies, not the client at all, and not the carers. So yes, this is why I bought this video. When I started this, completely unexpectedly, I was ill and not able to work. And I started a group to help. I met 1 or 2 wonderful carers, and I started a group to support them. And as these stories came out, we discovered a modern-day slave labor company that's bringing in foreign carers, literally running a modern-day slave labor situation with them, entrapment, exploitation, earning way below minimum wage, horrendous situation. It prompted me then, as more and more people came forward and told me their stories and they felt safe to talk, prompted me to do this survey, to disclose the problems. And besides all the problems, I have found solutions, but I will go through them bit by bit in each video. So yes, we have a lot of problems. We have clients at risk because nobody's checking on them. Care Quality Commission does not go around and check on all the carers. They expect or assume that the agencies will go and check on their own clients. But if you remember, a lot of these agencies are big agencies. They don't have offices all over the UK, but they have carers they've placed everywhere. A lot of people needing care for their family don't even get to see an agency person. If they're too far away, they do not send someone to even have a look at the property, assess and do a proper care plan before they send a carer in. The family member normally does it online, provides the pictures and basically tells from what they think they need the agency what the parent situation is, what they need. They send a carer there. Nobody is checking. So not anybody, most of them, you'll ask them. The survey is proof there. They don't even see someone from the agency. No one has come around to check on them when they were placed in that house. So we've got, yes, and we've got people which are entrapped by these agencies into jobs, not relieved. When they want to go off, they're too exhausted. They won't send them another carer. They ignore them. When they bring up problems, it's frightening. As I'll go in, I'll cover each thing in the survey. I will explain to you what's going on and cover where the problems are. But what this is highlighted is that we have a huge risk here. Massive exploitation, carers facing mental health problems, burnouts, exhaustion, exploitation. clients that are at risk now from carers in that situation, first of all, and not getting enough rest, not getting enough sleep. So accidents can happen. They're going to get irritable. They're not going to notice when the client's not well or maybe sick, miss symptoms, or not have the patience to take notice. Yes, we have problems. Clients that aren't getting protection, carers that aren't getting protection, and there is nowhere for them to report it. And I've tried myself on behalf of people phoning ACAS or phoning HMRC, but because it's such a unknown industry and that there wasn't set up, they haven't really set up legislation and things around it. All they have is this care plan or care-centered plan, okay, and we've got the so-called, where it's supposed to be 2-hour break and 11 hours, which doesn't happen. So when you're telling them and you're reporting to them what's actually going on, they just don't know what to do about it. Nobody knows. There's no answer to this. So yes, we definitely need a body. We need an oversight body purely for the live-in care, because any agency that is a member of Care Quality Commission, no, they don't have to be. There's no benefit really for them in some of these aspects in the first place. Anyone that's a member of Care Quality Commission obviously gets them to come and check up on their books and what they're doing in their so-called training. Care Quality Commission assumes they are then checking on the standard of care in the homes of all these carers, but it's not practical in the first place to do it. And the Care Quality Commission is not doing it themselves. So yes, we have a problem. We need somewhere. And when the carers are reporting this to Care Quality Commission, they're not interested, not realizing when the carers are reporting their terrible situations. Sometimes they actually put in a client's home without the proper regulatory or safety equipment, where they're having to drag lift. They've got 2 clients, they've got abusive situations, they're not given a night carer, breaking the so-called set out or guidance that we have of the carers. They're not interested. They tell them it's a labor problem, not realizing putting a carer in that situation when they're now absolutely desperate, exhausted. First of all, that the carer's at risk, the client's at risk. So we have to have a body now, which was no conflict of interest either. That's not. If you've got someone regulating it's easy for, I suppose, Care Quality Commission, being a hospital or being a business or dentist or doctor's surgery, it's easier then for them to regulate or oversee it. But you've got a body now. If, I see it as a problem, if you've got agencies now paying to be members of the Care Quality Commission, the Care Quality Commission gets a subsidy from the government and from the people they regulate. So it's almost a conflict of interest. Why would you now try and close down agencies that are paying the bills? Basically, they're paying your salary. So how would you have a non-bias or no conflict of interest there? So if there's abuse and things reported, there's not much of an incentive for you to close down those agencies or businesses, because it'll close down your business. You can't run. So there's a lot of... And if they're going to ignore from the carer's perspective, they're not listening to the carers and ignoring the abuse and situations the carers are in, the clients are at risk. So we have to have someone that's going to address the whole sector. So when the carers bring up this problem that they are sitting in an abusive situation, or extremely tired, overworked, not getting exploited, you can't have a regulatory body like Care Quality Commission ignoring it. They're going to, it's ignored. Yes, there's a loophole. A lot of this is going under the radar because people are not checking and missing the warning signs and not seeing what's actually going on. Well, we'll go into those videos, but there's a lot to discuss, and it's very concerning, speaking to people from all sides, and people are too frightened to talk out because that's the way the industry is going. And if they do talk out, even online, people ask advice when they realize about their wages or there's a problem. They ask advice online. They're threatened with lawsuits from the agencies for mentioning agency's name or asking for advice or bringing up the thing. So it was very difficult for me to get the facts and statistics. I had to form a closed group, which is now over 1,000 members already, and as word spread, and also making the fact that they didn't have to sign into the survey to do it. They were frightened, obviously they were honest on the survey. The only way I could get the actual facts and proof out, there were people on the ground. These carers are doing their job. They're working in the homes, they're working with these agencies, they know what's going on, the clients, and they're actually what they. So to get them to do it, I had to do it this way in order to. I wanted to see to the extent of the problem, and when I originally started out, I had no idea what I was going to uncover. So yes, it's a very worrying situation, and clients and carers are very happy and want this sorted out. I'm very happy about what I'm doing, about the survey, and very keen for this to come to public so we can find a solution that protects. This is supposed to be for them and the benefit of the clients for their care. It's not benefiting them. It's unaffordable, and it sure is not benefiting carers. We're actually creating a huge problem and losing a lot of good people. And if you're going to exploit people and pay them low, the minimum wage, you're going to attract the caliber of people you do not want doing care. So we have enormous amount of problems. But I shall go into that in time with the next video. Thank you for your time.